when I think about Abigail, I think you and I, both being those diagnosed with breast cancer, talk about choice and how empowering. You were asking about, like, how can we empower each other? It's having that choice, right? So much has been stripped already, but what do we have control over, and what can we decide and have these conversations? And that in and of itself, I think, is incredibly empowering and hopeful, right? Like, okay, yes, we are talking about death, but if I get to choose how I want that to be, it could be a very beautiful thing. And as we're coming to terms and making sense of our own realities, I think that is just another tool in that toolbox of, okay, well, do I want flowers and what type of music, or do I want, like, to be at home? And then I love those ideas of, okay, well, then having those conversations with your oncologist and your medical team to make sure that you're setting those goals and working towards those goals. I think that's wonderful.
And also on the flip side too, it's you all having the courage to have the conversations. What a blessing and a gift for your family to not only not have to ask so much, but to not have to, they'll be executing our wishes or your wishes, or whoever has the courage to voice them, even if you haven't written them down. At least you gave the family something to work with, so that takes that giant burden of making choices for someone. It completely flips the script.
Oh, absolutely. That's the bottom line is in all of this, I think, is, Bob used to say, the patient's going to be fine. It's the family you worry about. And the fact Bob and I talked about all of this, it didn't hasten it. It didn't delay it, and it didn't make it any less sad. I mean, it's still excruciatingly sad. What it's not is confusing or regretful or remorseful. I had the confidence that I was doing exactly what he wanted. Not only up until the moment he took his last breath, and then as we honored him with his memorial service, and all of those things that went with it. So, and just to be able to focus simply on loving him and then missing him and mourning him, instead of wondering how I was going to pay for it all, spending time doing, I don't even want to think about if he hadn't wanted to sell the house and move into the smaller space and sort of get things straightened up for me. If I had to do all that by myself after his death, it would have been just so much harder and awful than it, like I said, it didn't take away any sadness. I still miss him every single day. But I also am unburdened of a bunch of administrative stuff, and I am bolstered by the fact that I know for a fact that he felt loved and cared for exactly as he defined that, till the very end and beyond. So that's an excellent point, Valerie, as to what it does for the family, for the survivors. And I would add a kind of a dovetail onto this and the previous question, and that is, if you are the person that the patient, that the person who's dying is confiding in, it's a good idea that, especially if there are other adults involved, whether it's their siblings or your adult children, it's a good idea to establish that you're the one, whether it's with the patient together. So, like, if your husband is the one, that you're making clear that your parents understand that, so that because that's another place I think things can go sideways, is when a couple, for example, has talked things through very thoroughly, but the person hasn't told their own parents or the adult children that they've talked through things very thoroughly. And so, like, you know, this didn't happen to me. It didn't happen to me in any of my situations because I was it. But, you know, it could have happened, I guess, in a couple of them, but it didn't, because it was just very clear that I was it. And I think that times when it's not very clear, that can end up causing, again, a bunch of, you know, some of the questions, Valerie, that you talked about earlier with the crowd, and that there's one who kind of gets it, and there's kind of one who sometimes doesn't get it. And just kind of, if you have that position when the patient is able to talk about it and has their own agency, as Laura brought up, in their own, you know, controlling end of life, that's a valuable thing to bring to the dynamic.